While you're watching this video, China is building structures so gigantic, they seem to defy the laws of physics and modern engineering. We're talking about projects that cost hundreds of billions of dollars, that literally move mountains, that create islands out of nothing, and that connect entire regions across chasms that once seemed impassable. Today we're diving into the 10 craziest mega projects ever built by China. Projects that make the pyramids of Egypt look like child's play. And the most impressive part? Some of them were completed in less time than it takes to build a single overpass. Get ready, because what you're about to see will completely change your perception of the limits of human engineering. Let's start in 10th place with a structure that is literally 3 monumental projects in one. The Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is not just a bridge. It stretches 55 kilometers across the South China Sea, connecting 3 of the most important regions in Asia. But here's the insane detail. To avoid blocking one of the busiest shipping routes in the world, Chinese engineers built a 6.7-kilometer underwater tunnel in the middle of the bridge. That's right, you're driving over the sea and suddenly you dive 40 meters below the water, pass underneath gigantic ships, and emerge on the other side. To build this tunnel, they created 2 artificial islands from scratch, each 625 meters long. But don't think it was just a matter of digging and pouring concrete. The seabed in that region is pure soft mud, capable of swallowing entire structures. The solution? Drive 120 steel cylinders 180 meters deep until they reached solid bedrock. Each cylinder weighs more than the entire Eiffel Tower. The project took 9 years to complete, cost $20 billion, and reduced travel time between Hong Kong and Macau from 4 hours to just 30 minutes. More than 400,000 tons of steel were used, enough to build 60 Eiffel Towers. And the most impressive part? The bridge was designed to withstand magnitude 8 earthquakes, category 16 typhoons, and to have a lifespan of 120 years. Now imagine an airport so massive that it has its own underground high-speed train station, connecting you to downtown Beijing in just 20 minutes. Welcome to Beijing Daxing International Airport, nicknamed the Starfish, because of its futuristic design. This is not an ordinary airport. It is the largest airport terminal in the world, built as a single structure covering 700,000 square meters. To give you an idea, that's equivalent to 98 covered soccer fields, and it was built in just 4 years. But the design isn't just beautiful, it's brilliantly functional. Architect Zaha Hadid created a layout with 6 radial arms that allows 80% of the boarding gates to be within just 600 meters of the center of the terminal. That means you can walk from check-in to your gate in no more than 8 minutes. Compare that to gigantic airports where you need internal buses just to reach your flight. The roof is a technological masterpiece. There are 8,000 glass panels that allow natural light in, eliminating the need for artificial lighting during the day and saving millions in energy. The air conditioning system uses geothermal energy, making it one of the most sustainable airports on the planet. Its capacity: 72 million passengers per year in the initial phase, expanding to 100 million. And here's the most insane fact. This airport was built on land that was previously almost nothing, an agricultural area 46 kilometers south of Beijing. We now arrive at 8th place, and get ready because this project is so monumental that it literally changed the Earth's rotation. This is not an exaggeration, it's pure physics. The Three Gorges Dam on the Yangtze River is the largest hydroelectric power plant in the world. The dam wall is 2.3 kilometers long and 185 meters high. The amount of concrete used in its construction? 28 million cubic meters. That's enough to build a concrete road that would circle the entire equator. It used 463,000 tons of steel, and the project displaced 1.4 million people from their homes. But let's get to the numbers that truly impress. The dam has 32 main turbines, each generating 700 megawatts. The total installed capacity is 22.5 gigawatts, producing around 100 terawatt hours of electricity per year. To put that into perspective, that's enough to power entire countries. Now, about the Earth. When the reservoir was filled, it stored 39.3 billion tons of water. That enormous mass at a higher elevation increased the Earth's moment of inertia, slowing its rotation by 0.06 microseconds. Yes, each day became microscopically longer because of this dam. The project cost $37 billion and took 17 years to complete. In addition to generating energy, the dam drastically improved navigation on the Yangtze and reduced catastrophic floods that used to kill thousands of people every year. But the environmental impact was equally massive, submerging historic cities, archaeological sites, and permanently altering the river's ecosystem. Forget individual projects. Seventh place goes to something even more ambitious: the largest high-speed rail network on the planet, built practically from scratch in just 2 decades. In 2008, China had only 672 kilometers of high-speed rail tracks. Today, more than 45,000 kilometers. For comparison, that's more than the rest of the world combined. It's as if China had built the distance between the Earth and the Moon in railways, only here on the surface. The trains reach commercial speeds of 350 kilometers per hour, with some prototypes reaching 600 kilometers per hour using magnetic levitation technology. You can leave Beijing and arrive in Shanghai, a distance of 1,300 kilometers, in just 4.5 hours. But the truly insane part is the bridges and tunnels built for this network. The Danyang-Kunshan Bridge, part of the Beijing-Shanghai line, stretches 164 kilometers, making it the longest bridge in the world. It crosses over rivers, lakes, rice fields, and urban areas without touching the ground for most of its route. And there's more. To connect Yunnan province to Laos, the Chinese built a railway line through one of the most mountainous regions on the planet. There are 167 tunnels and 301 bridges in just 1,000 kilometers of track. More than 60% of the line is literally inside mountains or suspended over valleys. The total investment exceeds $500 billion, and the network transports more than 3 billion passengers per year. That's almost half of the world's population traveling annually on these lines. And China hasn't stopped. They are expanding into neighboring countries, creating a rail Silk Road that will connect Asia to Europe. Now let's talk about a project that sounds like science fiction, moving entire rivers from one end of the country to the other. The South-North Water Transfer Project is the largest water engineering undertaking in human history. Northern China has 45% of the population but only 20% of the water resources. The South has water in abundance. The solution? Build 3 Vishal canals transporting water from south to north over a total distance of more than 4,300 kilometers. The eastern route is already operational, transferring 14.8 billion cubic meters of water per year. To visualize that, imagine 6 million Olympic-sized swimming pools being transported annually. The water travels through a combination of canals, aqueducts, tunnels, and pumping stations so powerful that they consume as much energy as entire small cities. The central route is even more impressive. It includes a 7.2-kilometer tunnel carved through mountains and aqueducts that cross over existing rivers, literally creating rivers flowing above other rivers. One of the aqueducts has 2 levels. The original river passes underneath, and the transferred water flows on top. But the real challenge is the western route, still under construction. It will need to pump water to altitudes of 4,500 meters above sea level, crossing the Tibetan Plateau. This will require pumping stations so powerful that each one will consume more energy than a city of 100,000 people. The total estimated cost of the complete project exceeds $80 billion, and more than 300,000 people have been relocated. When finished, the system will transfer 44.8 billion cubic meters of water annually, solving the water crisis in Beijing and other northern megacities. Entering the top 5, we have a project that doesn't involve moving water or building bridges, but searching for aliens. FAST, or the 500-meter Aperture Spherical Telescope, is the largest single-dish radio telescope in the world. To build it, China literally flattened a mountain and hollowed out a natural valley in Guizhou. The dish is 500 meters in diameter and is made of 4,450 triangular aluminum panels that can individually adjust to focus on different parts of the sky. The collecting area is so vast that 30 soccer fields could fit inside it. But here's the brilliant detail. The telescope cannot rotate like traditional ones. Instead, the panels move, changing the curvature of the dish to point in different directions. It's like having a giant liquid lens in the middle of a mountain. The sensitivity of this instrument is extraordinary. It can detect radio signals so faint they would be equivalent to hearing a cell phone on the moon. FAST has already discovered more than 800 pulsars, including some of the most distant and rare ever detected. It is searching for signals from extraterrestrial civilizations and mapping the distribution of hydrogen in the universe. To build FAST, 9,000 residents were relocated from a 5-kilometer radius around the telescope to minimize radio frequency interference. Cell phones, Wi-Fi, any electronic device is prohibited in that zone. The project cost $180 million and took 5 years to complete. What makes this even more impressive is that China had virtually no tradition in radio astronomy before this project. They simply decided to build the best in the world, and they did. Fourth place goes to a project that isn't even on Earth. The Tiangong space station, whose name means Heavenly Palace, is China's answer to the International Space Station, but with one key detail: they built it on their own. The station has 3 main modules with 110 cubic meters of habitable space, can accommodate 6 taikonauts simultaneously, and is equipped with some of the most advanced scientific laboratories ever placed in orbit. But what's impressive is not just the station itself, it's the speed and ambition of China's space program. In 2003, China sent its first human into space, becoming only the 3rd country to do so independently. 20 years later, they have a permanent space station orbiting Earth at an altitude of 400 kilometers, completing 11 assembly missions in just 2 years. Tiangong features more advanced life support systems than the ISS, including more efficient water recycling and the capability to remain habitable for 15 years without significant ground maintenance. It is equipped with a 10-meter robotic arm that can move around the station like a caterpillar, transporting equipment and even astronauts. But the most ambitious project connected to Tiangong is the Xuntian telescope, which will be launched soon. With a 2-meter diameter mirror, it will have a field of view 300 times larger than Hubble, although with similar resolution. And here's the brilliance: it will orbit close to Tiangong, allowing it to dock with the station for maintenance and upgrades whenever necessary. China's space program has even more ambitious plans: crewed missions to the moon by 2030, a permanent lunar base by 2035, and crewed missions to Mars in the 2040s. They are not just catching up with the West, they are setting new standards. The bronze medal goes to a project that many in the West are completely unaware of, yet it is reshaping global geopolitics. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is a network of highways, railways, oil pipelines, and fiber optic cables connecting China's Xinjiang province to the Pakistani port of Gwadar on the Indian Ocean. Sounds simple? It's not. To make this happen, Chinese engineers had to build one of the most dangerous and impressive highways on the planet: the Karakoram Highway. It crosses 3 of the largest mountain ranges in the world: the Himalayas, the Karakoram, and the Hindu Kush, reaching altitudes of 4,714 meters. The road runs through the most geologically unstable region on Earth, where the Indian tectonic plate is colliding with the Asian plate. Landslides, avalanches, and earthquakes are constant. In some sections, the mountain is so steep that the road had to be literally carved into the vertical face of the cliff, creating spiral-shaped curves to gain elevation. But the Karakoram Highway is just the beginning. The complete project includes the modernization of Gwadar Port, transforming it from a small fishing village into one of the most advanced deep-water ports in the world. This gives China direct access to the Indian Ocean, cutting thousands of kilometers from its trade routes to Europe and the Middle East. There are more than 70 infrastructure projects underway, including power plants that will add 17 gigawatts to Pakistan's electrical grid, more than doubling its capacity. Chinese investment exceeds $62 billion, making it the largest bilateral investment project in history. The ultimate goal? To create a land trade route from China to Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, bypassing vulnerable maritime choke points controlled by other powers. It is the new Silk Road in the form of asphalt, steel, and concrete. Silver goes to a project so ambitious it sounds like megalomaniacal delirium, building an entire mega-city from scratch to relieve pressure on Beijing. Xiongan new area is being built 100 kilometers southwest of Beijing and, when completed, will cover 2,000 square kilometers and house 2.5 million people. But this is not an ordinary city. Xiongan is being designed as the world's first truly smart city, an urban laboratory to test all the technologies of the future. Every building will have connected sensors, traffic will be managed by AI, there will be no traditional traffic lights, and autonomous cars will be the primary means of transportation. The city will be completely carbon neutral. All energy will come from renewable sources, all buildings will have integrated solar panels, and carbon capture systems will be embedded into the urban infrastructure itself. The public transportation system will be 100% electric, and so efficient that no point in the city will be more than 10 minutes from a station. The urban design is revolutionary. Instead of expanding horizontally like traditional cities, Xiongan will have multiple centers connected by rapid transit, eliminating the concept of suburbs. Parks and urban forests will occupy 70% of the area, creating a city within a forest. But here is the real purpose: to transfer non-governmental functions from Beijing, including universities, hospitals, and headquarters of state-owned enterprises. This will relieve overcrowding in Beijing while creating a new economic hub. The initial investment is $36 billion, but estimates place the total cost at more than $200 billion by 2035. It is the largest urban experiment of the century, and the entire world is watching. And finally, number 1. China's most insane megaproject is not a single structure, but a global infrastructure network spanning 3 continents and involving more than 150 countries. The Belt and Road Initiative, known as the New Silk Road, is the largest infrastructure project in human history. We are talking about investments exceeding $1 trillion in ports, railways, highways, bridges, airports, power plants, and telecommunications networks spread across Asia, Africa, Europe, and even Latin America. To understand the scale, that is 12 times the Marshall Plan, which rebuilt Europe after World War II. In Kenya, China built a 480-kilometer railway connecting Nairobi to the port of Mombasa, cutting travel time from 12 hours to 4. In Ethiopia, a 750-kilometer railway links the capital Addis Ababa to the port of Djibouti. In Serbia, bridges and highways are being built with Chinese financing and engineering. In Laos, a high-speed railway crosses mountains that until recently had no proper roads. China is building 70 ports in 34 countries, creating a maritime network that facilitates global trade but also expands its geopolitical influence. The port of Piraeus in Greece, now managed by China, has become the largest port in the Mediterranean. Gwadar in Pakistan, Hambantota in Sri Lanka, Bagamoyo in Tanzania, all are being transformed into deep-water ports. But the true ambition goes beyond physical infrastructure. It is about reshaping the global economic order, creating new trade routes centered on China, establishing the yuan as an international trade currency, and generating economic dependence in dozens of countries. This is a project that will take decades to complete and whose effects will be felt for centuries. It is China literally rebuilding the world in its own image, brick by brick, rail by rail, port by port. These are the 10 most insane megaprojects in China, projects that individually would already be considered the greatest engineering feats of any nation. Together, they represent an unprecedented transformation in the scale and speed of human ambition. China is proving that the limits of engineering are not defined by physics, but by political will and the capacity to mobilize resources. While other countries debate infrastructure projects for decades, China simply builds. The big question is no longer, is this possible, but rather, what will be the consequences? Because when you change the planet's physical geography on this scale, when you build entire cities from scratch and reconnect continents, you are not just building, you are rewriting the future. And if these 10 projects impressed you, leave a comment telling us which one you found the most insane. And subscribe to the channel because soon we will explore the mega projects China is planning for the coming decades. And believe me, what you saw today will seem modest,